Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Aaron. It's been a while. It's been a very busy few weeks, and honestly, I'm I'm really swamped, at my end in terms of stuff that I've been doing, both for work, family, other projects. But we didn't want to go too long without a video on the channel, and right now we are rounding up all the championships in the Southeast Asia region with the final one, which was in Singapore. Now, this was held almost a month ago at this point. It was on the 17th to 18th of June, if I recall correctly, and it was won by Dionsius Lee. You know, Dion pretty much playing Mew VMAX with Genesect V and Meloetta. So this is the Fusion Strike Energy build of Mew, and he took it all the way to the finals and won the whole tournament, right? And this was a pretty large tournament. I believe it was over 200 players in Singapore. This was the final championships, which is like our national championships here in Southeast Asia of the three countries. So Philippines, then Malaysia, then Singapore. If you are interested in the results of the other events, please check out the other videos on the channel. But this is going to be a very quick video. We won't have a full interview per se because we're going to pretty much go through some questions that I sent to Dion, and what Dion was able to reply. But first and foremost, we have the deck that was played to take down Singapore Championships, and you could see that this is pretty much a very straightforward Mew VMAX build. The Fusion Energy build of Mew VMAX, and I will be the first to admit I'm not a seasoned player. For Mew, I've only played maybe a handful of games with the deck. I've never felt like it's something that I enjoy particularly, but we all know how powerful Mew is, especially in the format prior to this. Speaking of format, this is a deck list, from a format before the current one. So this is Battle Styles to Scarlet and Violet. So we're a little late. I know we're in Paldea Evolved, but it wouldn't be a complete season if we didn't cover the final country in our region, right? So in speaking with Dion, I got to know a little bit about him, and he's actually a fairly new player. So this was apparently his second event out of in the 2 or 3 months that he's been playing the Pokemon TCG. So interestingly enough, we have someone who has played TCGs before. He's played other TCGs, but a very new Pokemon TCG player just took down a 200 plus person tournament here in Southeast Asia, and it's an amazing story, right? Someone brand new picking up their first few decks, excuse me, and taking the whole tournament down. That is in itself a story for the ages, right? And the fact is, it's no easy feat, right? Singapore, has a huge number of very high caliber players, world championship players. Singapore, being while a tiny country, in size, has one of the bigger player bases, relative to its community, and being a 200-person tournament, it's no small feat for Dionsius to take it all the way down. And what he tells me is that he decided to go with Mew because he felt that the playstyle was straightforward. And also it was his first deck, pretty much someone who purchased the League Battle deck. So anyone who worked on that product, over at TPCI or wherever it is, you guys did a great job. That deck, well, at least a rendition of that deck, pretty much gone all the way to take down one of the biggest tournaments in our region, right? So his other option would have been Lost Zone Jertina, but he felt that Mew's playstyle suited him better, and he felt that it was probably the better option, and it paid off, right? We also asked him, what was his most useful card, right? And I think that's something that we've always asked players of the deck that they've chosen to bring for these big tournaments. He mentioned Cram-O-Matic, and I personally have had Cram flips go against me when I'm playing opposite Mew because they just get whatever they need. And it's a 50-50 chance, right? And according to Dion, he was able to get numerous hits, flips on Cram-O-Matic, even on stream. So if you have not checked out the stream, there is recordings of his matches all the way to the finals. and you could probably see that he almost had 100% flip rate on Cram throughout those matches on stream, which was amazing to say the least, right? Now, interesting enough, we also asked Dion in terms of who does he play with? Like, who are the people that he usually spends time playing the Pokemon TCG? Does he have a testing group? And actually, he did not have one prior to the event. And truth be told, he actually took the list, which was from the Harvard Regionals winning list, I believe, and made some minor adjustments to it. And that's what he took to the event, and he won the event through that. So a brand new player picking something online, net decking essentially, which is by no means something that anyone should be ashamed of, right? Net decking is completely fine, especially if you're a new player trying to explore a new deck, or even if you're a seasoned player trying to figure out how to play something completely new. I net deck all the time, to be fair. Even for the deck that I love to play, which is RCS Duraludon, I net deck all the time, and I pay tribute, to the players who put in hours to get to that deck list, right? Because they definitely own the I want to say the copyright or the ideas behind the deck. So it's great to see that that Dion actually does the same. He's completely open to admitting that he net decked of Limitless, I believe, and he made just some minor adjustments for preference, and that's what he took, and he won the tournament with it. So that's awesome. So without further ado, I think we can also get into the matchups that he had throughout the event. And as you can see from here, we have an astounding record, right? 14 wins, 2 losses overall, of course, over the course of day 1 and day 2. In day 1, he finished in 9th seed, 6 wins and 2 losses. It's an interesting spread of matches. He had lost zone box here and there. He had some mirror matches. Well, not really mirror matches, but 2 Mew Genesects, 1 Fusion, 1 DTE. He also had a couple of Gardevoir in there. And I think overall it was an interesting spread, right? He pretty much had everything across the field. Now, in speaking to some of the folks who were from Singapore in the Singapore tournament, they said that Gardevoir was heavily represented in Singapore. So meaning 2 here is no surprise. Even in Malaysia, Gardevoir was quite popular. And according to Dion, he felt like his most challenging matchups were against Gardevoir decks, and he felt that being new to the game, he had a hard time understanding Gardevoir's playstyle and the tempo, and he wasn't really sure what was the best line of play, and especially in the finals, right? Because in the finals, Ryan, his opponent, actually runs a Drapion, right? And we all know Drapion feasts on Mew, and he really relied heavily on Dionsius as his primary attacker, which makes sense. You don't want to give a 3 prize or even a 2 prize to a Drapion, so he utilized Dionsius as one of his immediate lines of play that he took. As someone who is not familiar with the overall matchup, but he did well, to take down the whole event. And as you can see in day 2, that's a 8-0 record in day 2, right? 2 wins against Dialga V-Star in top 16, 2 wins against Turbo Lost Zone Box in top 8, 2 wins against Lugia V-Star in top 4, and in the finals, 2 wins against Gardevoir EX without dropping a single game. That is a dominating record, and for someone so new to the Pokemon TCG to come up with this sort of performance, I think it's an amazing achievement in itself, right? We also asked Dion, like, what is the biggest advice that he would be able to give to someone who's going to decide to play Mew, right? And now we know that it's a new format. We're talking about Paldea Evolve now. Mew has sort of fallen off slightly here and there, but it's something that we need to look at. Like, does he think that Mew still has legs moving forward, right? And he says, his biggest advice is to apply probability heavily into your decision for Genesect draws, right? So it says relying on Cramomatic, maybe way higher odds, 50-50, than trying to draw that 1 or 2 cards based on your Genesect's probability. So I think that's a very interesting take. I personally don't have a particular opinion about that because I don't really play Mew that much. But it's an interesting take on, what you should opt for, considering the different lines of play that you could make in this Mew Genesect deck, right? Now, it's always interesting to see the perspective of a seasoned player, and similarly it's always interesting to get some insights from someone as of Dion's caliber, being fairly new to the Pokemon TCG and winning pretty much the biggest event of the season in Singapore, right? And of course, lastly, I asked Dion, like, now that he's a champion, what is his what was he looking forward to? What's the most exciting part that of his next couple of months? Obviously, Worlds is on along the way. There's also the Asia Open. But he says he's just excited to be playing the competitive Pokemon TCG, or being part of the competitive Pokemon TCG community. And he's fully aware of his experience or lack thereof in this card game, and he's really looking forward to putting in extra time and extra hard work to make sure that he's very aware of the meta game and the matchups, so that he's looking forward to take down his next big tournament. So that is an amazing spirit, I want to say, of Dion's caliber. Already looking forward to the next event, to take down. And for someone fairly new to the game, that anyone around the region or even around the world who only just started playing the Pokemon TCG, all you gotta do is look at Dion's run here at the Singapore Championships 2023 to give you the sense of feeling that, hey, you may be new, you may have just picked up your first deck, but anyone, and I really do mean anyone, can do well in the Pokemon TCG. But most of all, make sure that you're having fun with the game, and then chase after your dreams of achievements throughout the season. That's it gonna be from me. It's a very short and sweet video this time around. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you like this bite size video of a few questions from us to Dion, and some of the answers that he gives, and also the deck lists that he shared, which of course you can find on the websites online. But yeah, that's all from me today, from the channel. I really appreciate all of your feedback. Keep them coming. I know it's been a while since the last upload, but stay tuned. We're going to have a lot more videos and content coming up real soon. This is Aaron from the channel, and I'm signing off. Catch you next time. See ya.